Welcome to the Holy Sparks podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, Saul K here, super excited and grateful to be of service today with this very special edition. And I want to say out of the gate that we're going to cover some material that might be sensitive and difficult for kids to handle. So I would definitely leave the kids out of the room for this one. And without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce and edify the woman properly, my guest, Adi Hayun Perez. Adi is the Bay Area Regional Director of the Israeli American Consul. She was born and raised in southern Israel. She and her family moved to San Francisco in 2018. Adi has over 10 years of experience as a senior executive for organizational leadership in both the nonprofit and for-profit worlds. She holds a master's degree in art therapy and sociology and has focused a great deal of her work on aiding at-risk youth. Adi was the COO of Ofanim and helped to guide the organization's mission of bringing education to underserved communities and children through the remote classroom. As a trained therapist, Adi is passionate about making a positive impact and increasing people's sense of well-being. As an operations manager and entrepreneur, she strongly believes in building and nurturing communities and organizational cultures. Adi has consistently chased her passion for connecting people and driving them to reach their own true potential and success. Adi, welcome to the podcast.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
B'simcha, it's my pleasure. So, for people that don't know you, tell me a little bit about your background, where you grew up, and what life was like for you.
Okay, so first of all, I was born in Ashkelon. It's a city in the south of Israel. When I was a teenager, we moved to Kibbutz Kfar Aza with my extended family as well. We are a tribe. I was raised like that. And so we maintain that. I had a very special childhood with a lot of nature, a lot of family time. That was part of our family DNA. Every other Saturday we went for hikes and trips all over Israel. And the reason we moved to Kfar Aza is because it was important to us to get closer to nature and also to be part of a small community. Last thing that I can share about my childhood is that I learned since my first grade until 12th grade in art school. So art is very special to me, is part of my life and my well-being. So yes,
Beautiful.
I think that's in general.
Beautiful. And for people that don't know where Kfar Aza is, I think it's good to locate it in Israel.
So Kfar Aza is in the south of Israel. It's near, of course, Gaza Strip. I can say that the name, when it was initiative, it was a very close relationship with Gaza. People from Israel drove there, like shop there every other week, and it was part of the life there. It's near Sderot, near Netivot. There is a new frame, Otef Aza. Now it's Otef Israel in Hebrew, which means it's the strip that is like hug Israel from the south. That I can say in general.
Got it. Okay. Now talk a little bit about your Jewish life in Israel, and then we're going to talk about Jewish life here in the States.
So my family is, I can say, traditional family. We, celebrated all the holidays, but in our family way. I can say that my father's side was very religious. He was my grandfather was a rabbi. He initiated a synagogue, and he has a special writing and a special man. We were very connected to the Jewish tradition. But when I moved here with my family, I discovered a new perspective of Judaism. I can say that in general, in Israel, most things are black and white. Not today. We have much more colors in the middle. But when we just arrived here a little bit more than 5 years ago, I discovered new colors of Judaism and new perspective, thanks to a lot of my friend and the Jewish American community, which was new to me. And I think that is fascinating. It opened up my mind. It offered me a lot of new connections. It opened my family up to this. And I think that I will add something that when you live in Israel, someone is holding, right? Something is holding that for you. The schedule, the holidays, the vacation, it's built in the national yearly schedule, right? In Yom Kippur, no one is driving in the street. So even if you're not religious, you find your own path because no one is working, no one is driving. The streets are completely empty from cars and everything. Versus here, when we just arrived, we understood that if we will not be active and create the story for our family in our house, for our kids, if we will not connect with the Jewish community here, we will not have that, right? Because everyone else is, living their life as usual. Friday is like any other day for them, and Yom Kippur is not, the state is not stopping anything. So that was a journey for Jonathan and I. And we had a lot of conversations, especially in the first year or two, how to create our narrative in our home. And I want to say that we definitely found new, strong connections to Judaism thanks to Jewish American community here in San Francisco for us. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like to describe it as when you're in Israel, you're held by the Jewish identity. You don't have to do anything.
Exactly.
Did. And whereas here, you really need to push out to self-define, right? And pushing out could be connecting to communities, making active social decisions. Yeah, one more thing about that I think is fascinating. A lot of people don't know there isn't a very large reform or reconstructionist or conservative movement in Israel yet. It's growing, but I'm sure for you growing up, it was like, maybe Dati, Haredi, secular. Maybe those were the options, right? And so a lot of Israelis that I have on the show are pleasantly surprised by the varying dishes in the buffet here in the States, and that there's all kinds of different ways to be Jewish, right? And so that's often a pleasant surprise, and I'm glad that you experienced that in that way as well. Tell people, why exactly did you move to California 5 years ago?
So we moved here following my husband Jonathan postdoc in UCSF. I was just leaving my last position as a COO, as you mentioned, of Fanim, the nonprofit organization that I used to work in Israel. And we moved with our two kids, Elon, now he's 9, and Danielle, she now is 6.5. And we added another additional to our family, Geffen. She will celebrate in a few days 2 years old. So she will be 2 years old. So yes, that is the reason why we moved. And since there, we have a new journey as a family, and as and also in our career path.
Beautiful. Okay, so you talked about this a little bit, but for everyone that's listening, this would be fascinating to hear about. So compare your life as an Israeli in Israel versus your life as an Israeli here in California. What do you have to say about that? Because I know it must feel very different, and it'd be fascinating to hear a little bit about that.
Hearing you asking that question immediately triggers me so many things. So I will try to choose a few of them. But I think that when you are Israeli in Israel, you don't ask yourself that question, right? As we mentioned about Jewish tradition, and I think the same is happening there. There's a lot of Israel is very active country. Everything is speeding, and I remember when we moved here, the first thing that I needed to deal is my inner rhythm. I remember waking up in the morning in Israel, 7 a.m. The kids were already in schools and in the preschools, and 7:5, I'm on my job already, right? Working. Very intense, very fast forward. versus when we just arrived to San Francisco, I was like, where is everybody? Like, no one is out there until 9:30. And why can't I have coffee before 10? And where is everyone? Right. And I felt like the way I'm walking, even talking, I was in fast forward. No one is running in the street. Even if you're late, you will hold that. You will acknowledge that and you will deal with that. And so many things were different in the perspective, in the way I used to feel and be. And I think that in general, you suddenly realize that you are foreign, that you need to find your new path, your new identity. Even in the Jewish community, in the Israeli community, but here I definitely feel that we found a way to be an Israeli, immigrant, acknowledge that, respect that, learn, hear, listen, and embrace new cultures, new way of being, and also keep up the spices, the chutzpah, not let it go, but in the good way.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, great. Thank you for that. That's really sweet. So one of the reasons why we're having you on this podcast today is because you have a sister who lives in Israel with her family, and I'm sure much more extended family than that. And we're doing a fundraiser to help them. And so I want you to just introduce your sister and her family to our audience in the lens of this. What was their life like before October 7th, just to paint a picture, and then we'll progress from there.
So before October 7th, my sister just had, first of all, my sister name is Tal. She is 38 years old. Her husband, Wei, both of them are therapists. He's a psychologist. She's an art therapist as well, working all their life for others' well-being as a mission. They have 3 kids. Yahav, he's 7 years old. Reef, 5 years old. And little Libi, she is now 3 months. As I mentioned, for the last almost 25 years, we live as a family in Kibbutz Kfar Aza, with also our extended family. And the life in Kfar Aza are incredible. It's a very close community, and supportive, happy community. Celebrate the holidays together. Tal just sent me a picture of event in Rosh Hashanah that all the families and the kids gathered for a music festival and had balloons, white balloons, that we, ask, happy things for ourselves to welcome the new year, and we let it go to the sky. And it was amazing, and every time, and I see it here as well, but every time someone have a baby, and the community support with food and everything that needed, it's a truly happy, joyful place to be.
Beautiful. It really feels like, when I went to Israel for the first time 20 years ago, when you went to kibbutz, it had that feeling of really communal living. Everyone's looking out for
Correct.
each other. Everyone is intentionally there. They're building the land. There's this incredible feeling that it's hard to describe unless you've been in it. But I think you did a great job in describing how the community really looks out for each other.
And I don't know if our listening know what is a kibbutz, but imagine like a small village, and it's very green, very in one way very simple, but very warming. Everyone knows everyone, and we always say that all the roads leads to the dining room in the kibbutz. So it's like it's so incredible, special, for me and for many people. So
Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to make a transition here, and I want you to talk a little bit about what happened on October 7th, and then we'll scroll forward.
yeah. So on October 7th, it was in our time, it was October 6th, 8:30 p.m. It was October 7th morning in Israel, 6:30 p.m. a.m. Sorry. It was the second holiday of Sukkot. We just finished our dinner in our friend's house here in San Francisco. And on our way back home, I immediately realized that something different is happening. Our WhatsApp tribe group was all over, and the reason I realized something is different is because everyone asked everyone if everyone is safe and locked in the safe room. Not only, be in the safe room, but also lock yourself in the safe room. Immediately, my husband and I open the news to gather as much as information as we can, and it was very clear that it's been, Kfar Aza and so many other kibbutzes and spots in Israel are attacked by terrorists. It was a lot, like, so chaotic and very scary. We had a direct communication with our family through the WhatsApp group, but not all the time. Sometimes we were disconnected, but everyone ran to the shelter room, preparing themselves for a few minutes, maybe half an hour of, alerts and bombing, but never thought about the situation that we had. So they didn't take water and didn't take food. They just ran with their PJ underwear and just stay there. And very fast, they heard automatic guns outside of the window. My aunt saw even the first terrorists that land on the grass near their home. A few minutes after, my uncle and aunt needed to fight over the door with a few terrorists, Hamas terrorists that tried to enter their shelter room. It was very scary, and I want to add from my perspective, because I saw everything during the WhatsApp group, right? To read a sentence that my aunt's writing, the terrorists were here trying to open the door. We managed to block them. They are on the way to Itzik's house. It's my uncle, because he lives 2 houses ahead, and my dad lives 5 houses ahead. So you just sit here and you wait to hear what's going on, and you just try to calm everyone and to, give them hope and strengthen them for hours. So I just give an example for a few minutes, but that continued for hours. My sister and her husband and my 3 nephews stayed in the room for more than 12 hours in a complete darkness. 2 reasons why. First, they wanted to create false, like, to make it seem like they're not home. And also, in one point, they shut down everything, right, for everyone. So that means complete darkness, because you close the window. It's a heavy metal window, and the door, you have no light inside. They said that they just look at a small, hall to make sure if it's dark or light out there. They had to maintain a complete silence, and to be in a silence for so many hours with the kids. I think that the kids realized really fast that something different is happening, and they engaged in a very mature, not age-appropriate way, right? They wanted to play, they wanted to eat, they were hungry, they wanted to go out there to play and to use the restroom. I don't want to be specific more about the things that they needed to deal inside, but Tal and Roy very bravely stay very calm and try to normalize as much as they can for them. I will say that my sister shared with me that they did all that time. Roy needed to hold for many, many hours the door, because it's not locked from the inside. You need to hold physically. And she already started to think what will happen if the terrorists, because the terrorists always, all the time, got inside and outside of their house. A lot of shooting, bombing. They thought, what would we do if they were, get inside? How do we hide and wrap up the baby inside the closet? My sister in one point started to be dehydrated because she didn't drink water, so she ran out of milk. The baby Libi started to cry, so she needed to even hold, something like some kind of fabric in the case that she will cry when she will hear the terrorist outside, so she needs to block her mouth. It's really important for me to share that, because I was back and forth about how much information to share. But I truly feel that this is we are in difficult, very special times in history, and we have to. It's like our duty to be,
Be brave.
yeah, to be brave, and also to hear the testimony and to hold the testimony. So if I will fast forward a little bit, in one point after 12 hours, the terrorists started to set on fire the houses for two reasons. One is to burn the people alive inside, or to make them go out of the window and then kill them or kidnap them. That's what happened. They start to hear the alert from the kitchen about fires happening, and to hear the woods and to smell the fire and the smoke. And when the smoke started to get inside the room, they had to choose one of two, right? To stay inside and to take risk of burning alive, or to go out of the window and in an area, and knowing that their neighborhood is full of terrorists. They decided to jump from the window very bravely, barefoot, only in their underwear, and they identified an IDF jeep, and they just jump on. Like, my sister ran with the baby in front of her to make clear that they are not a terrorist, because it was so chaotic and so confusing and so intense. And the soldiers just opened the doors, let them in, and they covered the kids' eyes. On the way to the jeep, Yahav, my nephew, asked my sister Tal, "Mom, is that the end of the world?" And when she shared that with me, I realized what he saw, right? And how a 7 years old, he's only 7, how a 7 years old can, in one sentence, just, create such a clarify framing to that horrible scene that he was seeing. And the soldier just covered their eyes. They say, "Let's play a game that we are not looking from the window." And they just took them out of the kibbutz to supermarket nearby, like a gas station just at the end, like the enter of the kibbutz, just to give a little bit more of like knowledge about what happened in that 5 minutes of driving. They had on the way out, they have two Tzeva Adom alert. That is the red color alert. That is the bombing alert. So they had to stop, go out, lay down on the earth, cover the eyes, their head, sorry, and cover the children, and then go back to the jeep, go out. It was a war zone. And this is, that was our miracle, and that called a miracle these days, right? In our new perspective. And this is one story of so many stories that we had in our families and our community, because we have so much community in Kfar Aza, in other kibbutzes in the area, so many friends.
That's just so powerful. And so the IDF, they took him to a supermarket, and then where did they go from there? Where did the family go from there?
You have to understand that the chaos was so intense. So they went out in the gas station, and no one was there to, welcome them, organize their. So basically, they took ride with a random person in their PJ to the center of Israel, to Roi's sister in Rishon LeZion area. And they stayed there for a week, and then they moved to Kfar Hes, another location that hosted them, wonderful family that hosted them. And then they moved, and they stayed these days in Kalkul. It's a little bit norther than the center of Israel, near Netanya. And I do want to say that the community of Kfar Aza was settled in Shfaim, Kibbutz Shfaim, as a community. So they're back and forth to Shfaim sometimes as well.
Meaning that the entire community that's their
Correct.
designated area? Okay, gotcha.
Correct. But after 2 months, it's very, very difficult to stay in a hotel room with kids, and the exposure of information and stories and grief in Shfaim is so intense for kids. So they made a decision not to live there. They visit there and they're still part of the community, but they made a decision to create the narrative for the kids as much as they can.
I got it. Okay, so So you created this fundraiser. Talk a little bit about the fundraiser, kind of its origins, how it's going, and then I have a couple more questions for you about that.
So as I said, in the zoom out perspective, there's a lot of need in Israel right now. I want to say that through the river of pain and sorrow, I had the opportunity to experience the most amazing human beings, so supportive of the being supported by so many community members here and also in Israel. So my friend encouraged me here to support my family, specific Tal and Roy. As I mentioned, when they jumped from the window, they had only a glimpse of a look on their house. It was completely destroyed. It was completely burned. Nothing that you can save from there. They entered their new home only 3 weeks before October 7th. They actually hosted the second holiday of Sukkot until 2 a.m. And only 4 hours later, it happened. And I asked my sister, you had your baby, everything's so intense, you just move. Why did you host, second holiday of Sukkot and cooked and, did so many organizing for all the family, the extended family? And she said, I was so happy to find my place eventually. Like, I'm there, I have my home and I want to open my doors and my heart and invite everyone that I can. And I don't care to stand and to cook and to be awake all the, day and night to do that. And that symbols for me what is home and what is community. And we created this initiative to support them to rebuild their life. If I will be more specific about the needs, as I mentioned, Israel is in war right now. We need to be more active about rebuilding their life mentally, emotionally, physically. And it starts with rent that they need to do right now, and they have no income, and insurance that they didn't have in all the categories that we need, and they don't, and mental treatment, emotional treatment, physical treatment. They cannot go back to work because they need to, first of all, treat themselves. The trauma is very, very, very intense. Many things are just now, coming into the surface. And when you are a therapist and psychologist like Tal and Roy, you have to be responsible of others' lives. So you need to be ready to go out there again. And their clinic, of course, in the South, they need to rebuild that again and, give their kids the best future that they can. So yes, so that is in general what my friend and I tried to create for them.
Got it. Okay. And so you're asking for 150,000 and you've raised 85,000 so far, which is incredible. But this is what I think people don't often understand about Israel. I have family, a very close family that live there, and I know how expensive it is to actually live there. So for family of
Right.
five, this would be super helpful for people to hear the tachlis numbers of, okay, family of five renting a place in wherever they are, Jerusalem, Nachlaot, Netanya, 10,000 a month to take care of that family.
We actually dig into the numbers because I truly believe in being very, very, very clear, open when you ask for support, and I respect and admire every dollar that people give their support and engage to that. And so basically, when we calculate the numbers, it's very similar to San Francisco in a very surprising way. The center of Israel is one of the most expensive area on earth, right? And when you add to that the trauma process that you cannot function as normal, you cannot be initiative, you need extra support. When you add to that the fact that you need to start all over your career, your business, your clinic, the numbers are much higher than we expected. I can be open and share that when we started, it was less, but my friends are very realistic and they know how humble, and we don't want, like, as a family to be out there. And they said you have to be concrete and you have to be direct with yourself, first of all, with the numbers, because they need that support. The way the system works in Israel, in very, like, it's very similar. The cost to San Francisco. So if an average family needs around 200K to make a basic year, it's very similar to that.
Okay, that's super useful for people to hear. I'm really glad that you did that because, sometimes people think, well, 150K, that's, no. So that's not even a year, ladies and gentlemen.
No.
Okay. So, leads to my next question, and maybe this is embedded in the previous discussion, but he said we're trying to raise another 65,000. Is there something specific that is going towards, or is it still just general life expenses, or, so anything people should know about this next chunk that you're looking to raise?
So it's, as I shared, it's gonna be for the day-to-day life, to rent and education for the kids. That is super expensive, more than we even thought, and emotional treatment, and to rebuild their life in that path, and all the treatment adding to that. It's much more. Just to give a little bit of understanding, every other day they are in treatment, like to just work on what they experience, to gain again control of their brain, like thoughts, emotion. It's very difficult. The frontal part of your brain, when you traumatize, it's blocked.
Yeah.
You need to work very hard on that, and that's refer also to your needs in your daily day life as a family, so for sure that cost is also, that the donation is also going to go for that. And in the near future, I'm hoping, and that's really important for me to mention, to rebuild their clinic in the most positive, good way, because if we will manage to get them on their feet and on their positive state of mind, and I know what they created in other people's life. They had the most intense cases, so I know that if we will help them rebuild their clinic as well, in the next step, what they can do and how they can support the rebuilding of the communities and other people, it's going to be very, very impactful and powerful, and positive. So yes, this is the future, far future. The day-to-day needs, if I will be more specific, is, as I mentioned, is much more expensive than we ever could imagine.
That's super clear. I appreciate that. How else can we help besides donating? Anything else that we can do?
I think that, as I mentioned before, just knowing that and seeing the people's, how they look at us and how they offer their help, like you just asked me, that's the first step to say, like, this is my opportunity to say that I'm so grateful that only that holds for me a space to be seen, and to my family a space to be seen and to be loved. And the fact that you even take a moment to ask that question holds so much inside of it. I think that it's very difficult to answer right now, but because they want to have a normal life and not to be on the spotlight all the time, and it's a thick line between connecting and also staying sane, and going back to normal rhythm as a private family and in their private space. But they are so grateful, and they look to hear from the community, and I share with them everything. Like, there was a group of teenager here that heard that Yahav had a large Pokemon collection, that all of it burned. So they collected Pokemons, and we sent it to them, and Yav was on the moon. Like, he was so happy. And even if he didn't met those lovely, amazing teenagers, he felt them, he know about them. I share with them the story, and it was amazing. And also, my sister lost her, like, all her jewelry, included her wedding ring, And it's small things that you don't have time to deal with right now, right? But it means the world to her. So we're working now on an initiative to buy her a new wedding ring and to maybe make a small ceremony with Roy and Tal for their new life. And, it's the small things sometimes that can change everything for them. So yeah.
Sweet. Well, I was just thinking with Hanukkah coming up, maybe there's some gifts that I know my son is also very into Pokemon cards. So probably some sort of gift exchange. So if you have Hanukkah ideas, reach out and we'll let you know if those are good options to send as well.
That's a great idea. Love
Yeah.
it.
Hey, beautiful. Well, as we wrap up here, there's really a couple questions I want to ask you, and these are both very long questions. However, you can answer in brief. And so, how are you dealing with not only anti-Semitism here in this country, but with how the news has completely distorted what actually happened and what is happening? And I know this is a huge topic, but how are you dealing with that? And by asking, I'm looking for ways that we can deal with it as well.
You're right. This is a huge, we can talk an hour only about that question. But I wanna say two things. One, in a personal note, I want to say a personal as an individual, Jewish Israeli individual, and also from the perspective of us as a community. I think that it's unbelievable taking my calm well-being when I see us needed to fight for the facts, to fight for the information out there that is so not true and so in so many ways. It's not only that we experience that, now we need to market it as a get back our rights about the story. So this is very intense about the anti-Semitism that is rising, and it's growing so in huge amount, and the numbers are so high from October 7th. But it's a phase of the last, I want to say, 2 years, even more. I think that what happened on October 7th called all communities together as a community, as a Jewish community. And I see my colleagues work so hard, and we try to connect and work together. And I have to hold hope, right? And I think that we are working now to create a clear story and be more active and engage the community in more than one way, working on the cases in happening on schools with our students, parents, universities. It's horrible what's going on there. City halls gathering, but my colleagues and I are like, I think that there's a lot of things that needed to be done, and we totally understand that we need to be more active and create a story in the most smart way, and be out there and like not to hold our silence and be just quiet about it. We have to be out there.
Nachon, totally agree. And certainly feel free to reach out to me. I have tons of resources for what you can do both on a local, kind of statewide and national level in terms of political action, things that you can do that take less than 10 minutes a day. Very easy to do, easy not to do, but this is the things that we need to do.
Yeah, we have a lot of initiative related to that in the hasbara, mode, and the IAC is a national organization that work on that. And I want to mention also the non-Jewish communities. I acknowledge the need to communicate ourselves with other communities and with our neighbors, and to engage them and to talk openly about the story and what happened. And I think that part is very stand out there as a task, as a mission, as well as what I mentioned before.
Yeah, it's building the bridges. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, I know we have to wrap up here, but I want to ask you one final question that I ask every guest on the Holy Sparks podcast. And you have mentioned several things that could be answers to this question, but I'll ask it again. So, what do you feel the Jewish world needs now most, and why?
I want to say, in the spirit of light of Hanukkah, Love is always the cure to everything, you know. And I want to take your last word with bridges. I think if we create bridges of light and love between ourselves, overcome our gaps, and reach out to others, that is the hugest cure that we can ever ask for, in my opinion. And be
Beautiful.
together, you know, hold spaces together.
Suggested in a previous podcast, we need to extend the year of Hakel one more year because we need more time
Yes.
for the year of gathering. So I want to end with a blessing, and I want Hashem to bless you with strength in your work, being on the front lines, and your family, that they should receive over the amount that you're asking, an absolute abundant overflow of parnasa and shalom and the healing that they need, and that you and what you're doing with your family should be an example to other people that can do that for their families, because they're also shy. They need someone to go first and do it in a humble way, exactly how you are doing it. So I appreciate what you're doing, and I want to thank you for your time. I know you're very busy, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. So much. And if I can be a help for anyone that is hearing us in any topic that we just talked about, I will be more than happy to do that.
Thank you so much for listening. There are links below to help with our fundraiser, and we'll see you on the next episode.